On March 31st, the Devil Rays hosted the Detroit Tigers during their first regular season game. Wilson Alvarez got the start, giving up 6 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. Davey Martinez collected the first hit in franchise history in the 3rd before Wade Boggs homered in their first runs in the 6th. Tampa could not overcome the early deficit, losing 11-6 in front of a sellout crowd. The next night, the Devil Rays came to play, collecting their first win and outscoring Detroit 11-8 with Rolando Araujo on the mound. They were 10-6 3 weeks into the year, but after falling below 500 on April 27th, they never got back to a positive record. On the season, Tampa Bay won 63 games, finishing behind all but the fire sale Marlins on the year. Despite the high-scoring opening series, the Devil Rays did not give up or score many runs. The pitching staff wasn't bad, as they allowed the 10th least runs in the majors despite playing in the power-happy AL East. They also arguably had the best defense in baseball, leading the league in total zone. The problem was that they scored the least amount of runs in baseball, and Fred McGriff was the only hitter above league average who played over 60 games. Araujo was the only all-star on the roster and had a great season as a 32-year-old rookie, finishing second in Rookie of the Year voting. The only notable player that the team drafted that year was future Twitter user Aubrey Huff. They signed Jose Canseco in the offseason to DH and sell tickets. Their number 1 prospect during the season was pitcher Matt White, who was ranked as the 6th best prospect in baseball. He is not to be confused with the other Matt White who pitched in the same span. That Matt White ended up with $2.5 billion of precious stone after a $50,000 land investment and actually made the majors. But back to our Matt White. The interesting parts of White's career aren't about what happened on the field. He holds the record for the largest signing bonus in franchise history because when he was drafted by the Giants 7th overall in 1996, agent Scott Boras used the loophole to make him a free agent just weeks after the draft, and he signed with the Devil Rays for $10.2 million. After a very solid 2000 season in which he rose up through AAA and kept his ERA under 4 across AA and AAA, he ended up injuring his shoulder prior to the Sydney Olympics, leading to an ERA over 7 at AAA the next season. The reason I'm talking about him now is because at just 19 years old in 1998, White threw a career-high 171 innings. Tampa was very aggressive with their prospects at the time, and White's usage during this season may have been the first failure of that strategy. After the buzz of a new team wore off, the residents of the Tampa metropolitan area were left with a handful of interesting faces and an overall mediocre baseball team. This chart shows the year-to-year win total, payroll, and attendance rank of the team. As you can see, the Devil Rays won 6 more games in their second season than their first, nearly coinciding with the rising payroll, although their attendance rank fell into the bottom 10 of the league. While a 6-win improvement is nothing to scoff at, the Devil Rays did not seem to progress in terms of foundational structure. The roster was still a collective of mediocre young guys and aging sluggers. Ace Tony Saunders began the year poorly, allowing over 5 earned runs in 4 of his first 8 starts. On May 26th, Saunders took the mound for his 9th start against the Texas Rangers. In the 3rd inning, after allowing a homer and 3 singles, Juan Gonzalez stepped to the plate. With 3 balls and 2 strikes, Saunders was 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning with the lead. From the set, he delivered.
The 3-2 pitch, a wild pitch back to the screen. Scoring from 3rd is Alicea. It's ball 4 and Saunders is hurt. A wild pitch because something in his arm snapped. Saunders down on the field writhing in pain.
This moment went on to define Tony's career. The 25-year-old lefty with the bright future broke his humerus, and the injury may have been the most gruesome MLB arm injury ever caught on tape. Fans who were at the Trop on that Wednesday evening remember the noise of his arm breaking. The team was just 2 games under 500 entering the night, but I think this moment tanked the team's morale. On the pitch, the Rangers tied the game at 3, and they would later go on to win it. Starting on that day, the Devil Rays lost 12 out of 14, completely falling out of contention by June. The pitching staff could not overcome this loss, and they fell into the bottom 5 in runs allowed in the majors. Araujo was not able to capture the same excellence that made him an all-star in the year prior, and the mediocre Wilson Alvarez finished the year as the best pitcher. The offense was carried by Fred McGriff and the all-star Canseco. The now 41-year-old Wade Boggs hit a homer for his 3,000th hit on August 7th before playing his last game on August 27th.
And comes out to acknowledge the plaudits of the crowd.
The team was no longer the worst at scoring runs, but they were still near the bottom, and their defense went from best to worst according to Total Zone. Their attendance dropped by about 1 million spectators from their first season, but Jim Morris gave the fans a reason to pay attention in September when the team was out of playoff contention and Boggs was done for the year. If you don't know Jim Morris just from the name alone, you may know him simply as the Rookie. The 35-year-old had not played professional ball since the 80s, and the highest level he reached then was A-ball. The players from the high school baseball team that he coached inspired him to try out at a showcase, where he threw about a dozen fastballs at 98 miles per hour or higher. Devil Rays scouts were in attendance, and they liked what they saw, so they signed him. He got the call to the show in September, when he made his first 5 appearances in the majors. The movie based on this story ended up grossing over $80 million worldwide, which is more than the Devil Rays ever spent on player payroll in a single season. Dan Wheeler, a 34th round pick from 1996, also made his debut in September. Up to this point, Lamar & Co. had not been very successful in the draft, but they picked first overall in 1999, selecting high school outfielder Josh Hamilton with the pick, and later selecting Carl Crawford in the second round. Going into the offseason, the organization finally had some talent to develop for the future. During the offseason, they took a more aggressive approach, trying to keep up with their counterparts in Arizona who just won 100 games. They brought in Vinny Castilla to replace Boggs at third, trading Arrojo to do so. They also signed Greg Vaughn to play left, even though Bubba Trammell was a more than capable left fielder and a fan favorite at the time. These moves inflated the payroll and led to high expectations for the third-year franchise. After beating the Twins 7-0 on opening day, the Devil Rays went on to hit nearly 300 in April, slashing the second best month in team history. Was this the beginning of a turnaround in Tampa? Was there finally a roster foundation worth building upon? Let's check the team's record at the end of the month to find out. One thing about offensive stats in the year 2000, they could be very deceptive. The impressive month was exactly league average according to OPS+. For comparison's sake, let's check out the slash line that Tampa starters allowed during the month. Yeah, no team can win while allowing that much offense. While the team's solid offensive start tailed off into May, the starting pitching remained just as bad. The team won just 8 games during the month, 6 of them by just 1 run. Last year's underdog success story Morris was cut on May 9th and failed to ever make it back to the bigs. While awaiting the return of Saunders, the back end of the rotation consisted of washed-up Dwight Gooden and a group of sub-replacement level hurlers. Trammell was traded to the Mets in July, and Canseco was waived in August, since he could not stay on the field or bring the home run power that was expected of him while he was healthy. Unfortunately, on August 24th, during his third minor league rehab start in St. Petersburg, Tony Saunders' humerus snapped again in the same place, and he retired from baseball at just 26 years old. He won a World Series ring as a rookie, headlined a new franchise, and suffered the most brutal arm injury not once but twice, all within the first 4 years of his MLB career. While the Devil Rays were a poorly run franchise, his streak of bad luck epitomizes the team's luck as a whole during the early years. The Castilla trade ended up as a disaster, as he was the worst hitter on the team and only played 85 games on the year, finishing with a negative WAR despite having the second highest salary on the team. Greg Vaughn's deal ended up working out better for the team, as he was the best hitter on the squad, but he still missed out on about a month of play while earning the highest salary. McGriff was still the only productive bat in the infield. Starters Albie Lopez and Brian Recker were the best pitchers on the team, and closer Roberto Hernandez remained solid, but the vast majority of pitchers on the roster were just bad. The 2000 season was the biggest disappointment yet. Despite a payroll over double that of their initial season and over $20 million more than the previous season, the Devil Rays were still stuck at 69 wins. Their attendance fell even further, finishing 27th in the league in total attendance. The draft was about the only thing that went okay for the team, as Lamar brought in Rocco Baldelli and James Shields. They also signed amateur free agent Gregory Toe Nash after he went undrafted. This may be the most interesting and strange story of this era of Devil Rays baseball. Nash did not go to high school and had not played organized baseball since he was 14. He was off the grid in both the baseball world and real life, as he did not possess a birth certificate or social security number. If scout Benny Latino never discovered him as a kid playing in Sorrento, Louisiana, it's entirely possible that nobody outside of his small town would even know he existed. Latino showed up to a game in which Toe struck out 17 batters and hit 2 homers, and once he was a scout for the Devil Rays, he ventured back, searching for the same talent that he witnessed years prior. Once Toe was found, playing in the semi-pro Sugarcane League, the Devil Rays brought him to West Virginia for a tryout. He impressed scouting director Dan Jennings with his switch-hitting power and mid-90s fastball on the mound, so the team signed him for $30,000. This story was so unbelievable that other teams thought it was a myth, much like Sid Finch. He was like the natural in real life. Baseball Doesn't Exist made a fantastic video diving into Toe's wild life and career. Check it out after this video. Nash, Crawford, and Hamilton played instructional league baseball together that fall. The big league roster simply lacked talent and structure, so the hope of the fans at this point was resting in the hands of these youngsters.